About a year ago, I made a video called Comic Books Nobody Wants. It actually ended up being one of my more popular videos I've ever made. But I actually wanted to expand on that to talk about comic books that you would think would do really well and don't. These are comics that maybe to a non-seller or comic book store, you might think, oh, you should be able to move that. No, you can't. I was able to compile it into 10. Let's get into it. Don't forget, at 40,000 subs, someone's going to get first Miles, Gwen Stacy, or Laura Kinney in Perfect 9/8. It could be you. You just gotta like and subscribe and comment. All right, the first one that you would think would be able to move quite easily is all the expensive high ratio variants, 1 in 50s, 1 in 100s, maybe even 1 in 500s, that aren't perfect. In my experience, and you guys can correct me if you've found it to be anything different, but in my experience, if it's one of those ratio variants valued at $50, but it has even one spine tick, it's worth about $5. These ratio variants have to be perfect to get that price tag. Otherwise, the value simply is not there. I already think ratios and exclusives are money pits, but when they even get the slightest flaw, you can kiss the value goodbye. Next is comic books with a reader's crease. Now, I'm kind of specifically talking about the Silver Age here, because most of the comics you get from the Silver Age are VGs, right in that 3.5 to a 4.5 pocket, but some VGs look better than others. For example, if you see that big obnoxious reader's crease, which is when a kid back in the day would simply fold a comic and put it in his pocket, that is one very damning flaw that people think is a lot less desirable in a VG, and it makes it a lot harder to sell. Doesn't even matter what the key is, that reader's crease can really hurt you. Slabs under a 9.0 after the year 1980. And I'm actually even including big keys in here. It is really, really, really hard to move slabs that are not a 9 or higher. In fact, I would almost even change it to say it's hard to move slabs that aren't even a 9.4 or higher. If I've got an 8.5 or an 8 of anything in the 80s, it is going to be sitting for a long time. Unless it's like the first Deadpool, first Psylocke, something of real significance. Okay. And even sometimes still, it's really just sitting. That's why I've mentioned on this channel several times that I can't tell you what to do, but you should be very careful if you're doing the slabbing for financial reasons. I think you're going to find that you've probably wasted a lot of money slabbing up comics in the 7, 8s, and sometimes even a 9.0 range. I like submitting books that look perfect to start with. It's a rule I've made for myself, but I do buy collections, and sometimes I get a lot of stock that's really tricky to move. The next is still sealed hardcovers. The ones that do sell are the ones that have already been read. Maybe you slap $5, $8 on them, who knows what. The ones that are still in the original shrink wrap, they're gonna have a higher price tag. I feel like people honestly would rather have a removed from shrink wrap and cheaper version. And that's just a matter of more bang for your buck. So I totally get it. For those of us that have unread, still sealed hardcovers like this, a still sealed Absolute Hush, that would actually be really hard to move for me. The next thing that you think would be a seller but simply is not are signed books that aren't keys. If they're not keys, good luck moving them. If I buy a collection and I've got some signed books in there, I usually put about a $15 to $20 price tag on the book, depending on what it is. If it's a bigger key, obviously it goes up from there. That stuff can really sit. Unless you are catering to that dude who loved that run and maybe that artist or writer, you found gold. Otherwise, you might find it rotating in and out and in and out and in and out of your inventory all the time. The next one is anything missing a Marvel value stamp, which common for the 70s, or for any other decade, any advertisements. So if a book is not complete, meaning an ad or a Marvel value stamp, whatever has been cut out, even if it doesn't affect the story, they're a lot harder to move. I'm going to give you the best example I got. I had the first appearance of Iron Fist. No shit, this thing actually looked like a 9.8, missing the Marvel value stamp. I tried to move it at just $100 at a couple claim sales and eventually had to strike a deal, I believe, down to $60. Again, no flaws, spine ticks, anything on the book, but there you go. Really, really, really hard to move. Next is foreign comics. Kind of similar to signed comics. Foreign comics of keys, I can move them pretty much every day of the week. But random foreign comics, let's say it's a random Daredevil book from the Bronze Age, it's a foreign comic. Yeah, cool, and you do your search. You know what? It actually has a little bit of a price tag to it. I don't know. I think some people have a little bit of a luck with different audiences. Me particularly, I have a really hard time moving those. And I've actually started just putting them in my dollar bins at the antique shop. Oh well. Next is Treasury Editions. Even more than magazines, which I think can sometimes be a tricky mover, is these Treasury Editions. Gigantic, large size, not always exactly the same exact size. They do make and sell bags and boards for Treasury Editions. But again, sometimes they're even too big for that. And nobody really makes a frame or certainly a comic book box that can store these well. They're also really hard and annoying to ship. I learned that the hard way. I did my first Treasury Edition shipper, and it only fit in one extremely specific box I had. So it just made it very difficult. Treasury Editions, they look great. They are great wall art. They're good to have in like an antique shop like I have, but they're a tough mover to sell online for sure. Second to last one here is going to be low grade 90s keys. I'm going to give you an example. Spider-Man 2099, number one. If it's in perfect condition, it's probably about a $15 book, right? But if it's got 5, 10, 15 spine ticks on there, I'll slap like $4 on it. You know what? It's still a Spider-Man 2099, whatever, $4. You'd think, hey, it's still a Spider-Man 2099, you can move that, right? No. Low grade for the 90s just doesn't work. I'm not even talking slab, I'm talking raw. Nobody really wants the quite weathered copies, and I totally get it. Even though my brain knows it's a key, I've just started putting it in the dollar bins because, oh well. I think it's just so recent in collecting history that people hold that stuff to a higher standard. And again, I get it. The final entry for you folks is naughty comics. And I'm not talking about ones like Cherry Pop-Tart that have a sort of indie appeal to them. I'm talking about naughty covers. First off, I can't even sell that in the antique shop. We're across from middle school and a high school, so I can't have booby covers all over my bins. But even at a claim sale, that stuff is extremely dependent on that one type of collector. And I just run into that collector so infrequently that the booby covers, they sit and they sit and they sit and they sit. I can't get rid of them. And eventually I have to just give them away to someone else who might be able to make money with them, because I certainly can't. And again, sometimes they're in perfect condition. Sometimes they're rare. Sometimes they're like 1 in frickin' a million ratio variants. Doesn't matter. Just because of the nature of the cover, I can't move it at all. Maybe you guys have had better luck. Holy crap, not me. I hope you enjoyed the list of things that you would think would be easy sellers, but frickin' are not. Let me know anything I missed down in the comments below. Sellers, what if you had a horrible time moving? As always, keep on hunting. I'll see you at the next video. Make sure to come on down to Sentiment Depot's Antiques and Collectibles, located at 238 West Delaware Ave in Pennington, New Jersey. Find so many great books for just $1 and the lowest prices on key comics around. Enjoy a huge selection of graded comics priced up to 20% lower than current fair market value. We are open from Wednesday to Sunday, closed Monday, Tuesday. You got a collection you want to sell? Bring that too. Can't wait to see you there.